Welcome back, and that was a report about the meetings of the African Development Bank Group in Egypt's Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. Heads of Egypt's central bank called on the AFDB to expand the concessional loans to the member states. The AFDB funds are derived from the subscriptions by the member countries, especially the non-regional member countries borrowing on the international markets and the loan repayments. Our dear viewers, to shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Mr. Raouf Gaafar, our political analyst. Mr. Gaafar, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Sir, how do you weigh the outcome of the AFDB group meetings with regard to backing the African economies post-COVID and in the midst of the still ongoing Russian-Ukrainian war?
I mean, the African continent was the continent that suffered most.
Indeed.
From every crisis that takes place, we suffer. When the COVID came, Africa was the biggest victim. When the war between Ukraine and Russia started and is still going on, again, Africa was affected very severely due to the interruption of the food supply chain. So, and mind you, one now have to learn from lessons that we depend on ourselves. So Africa has to depend, not totally, but at least on a great level on itself. And I think that the African Development Bank presents the biggest opportunity to grant loans and donations and grants to the different African states so that they can sort of rebound and try and resist whatever crisis they face and overcome. So such meetings are very important, and the deliberations were very positive, and I think it will result into more and more pouring of facilities and soft loans, etc., into the different African state economies so that they can survive and overcome whatever crisis they may face, particularly the one you talked about, the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Indeed. Mr. Gaafar, Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Hassan Abdullah, urged the African Development Bank to increase its lending to the member states on the concessional terms. How do you expect the AFDB to respond to this call by the Central Bank of Egypt, Governor?
Listen, Egypt has always been very active.
Indeed.
In whatever endeavor that has to do with the welfare of the African continent. And this is, of course, a very important one. So whatever they suggest, whatever they offer, it has to be taken into consideration very seriously. And I think this is what will happen. And we will continue, of course, our print on these issues. And our central bank will always be there to offer whatever it can for the bank and for Africa.
Yes. Sir, with 81 member states, including regional countries in Africa and non-regional countries around the globe, how do you see the role that can be played by the AFDB to close the financing gap for the climate goals in Africa?
Well, I mean, it can fill part of the gap, not necessarily close it, but at least it can be a great help. We know that financial institutions from all over the world are still very much interested in Africa. Africa being a young continent, being representing the future of the world, if I may say. So everybody's interested. So, but the African Development Bank from within is playing a major role in, as you said, hopefully filling the gap, but at least covering a big part of it.
How can you elaborate, sir, on what it means that the strong AAA credit rating of the AFDB allows it to obtain low interest funding.
Well, I mean, let us say you're talking about the credit rating of the bank itself,
Yes.
right?
Yes, indeed.
It was founded on solid ground.
Yeah.
And as I said, it is being, if not all, are fulfilling all their obligations to the bank. So they, as I said, this bank represents a golden opportunity for the African states to get whatever they need or a good part of what they need in terms of development, particularly in the new era of clean energy and renewable energy and green economy. And I think that this time the bank and all the African states are serious in proceeding in this direction.
Indeed. Sir, Mr. Hassan Abdullah, the governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, also stressed the importance of establishing an important mechanism to curb the risk of association with the exchange rate fluctuation with regard to the AFDB loans. How do you read this statement by Mr. Abdullah?
Well, a very positive statement, and I am sure he is up to what he said. I am hoping that the facilities continue and that the exchange rate does not fluctuate very highly, so that everybody can benefit the most from the facilities offered by the bank.
Indeed. Sir, Mr. Raouf Gaafar, our political analyst, always a pleasure to listen to your precious input, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. And a recent study is warning that the African continent is facing many challenges as a result of the climate change, as it is threatening the rising temperatures, the sea levels, the changing